I want to thank you so much for joining us on this Thursday. I'm Mark Schumacher. I'm the CEO of the Home Furnishings Association. And periodically, we like to sit down for an hour or so with a good friend of the association and someone who's well known to all of you, and that's Jerry Epperson. Jerry's with Mann, Armistead, and Epperson, an investment banking and advisory firm that is rooted in this industry and has been for a long, long time. And we're going to really try to tap in here at the mid-year point to really what the state of our industry is and talk to Jerry about some of the concerns he has, both on that side, seemingly a little bit heavy, and then of course on the positive side, the things that he sees as great opportunities. I want to mention, by the way, that we will take questions. We know that when you signed up, many of you already have submitted some, but you'll see a chat function on the right side of your screen. Feel free as we go along to put some questions in there. We'll do our best to get to them. Also, this is being recorded. You can find this and all of our invaluable webinars at myhfa.org. Please make sure that you go there. But I think that for the moment, that is all the housekeeping to be done. Jerry, first of all, it's great to see you, and I'm glad you're healthy and doing well.
Mark, thank you so much. You know, I've been invited a lot of places, but what I found is the compliment is when I'm invited back. And so thank you for inviting me back on this.
Well,
your market at the resource center there and getting to come back, that's got to be a little bit of a reunion. So I'm not using that ever, but you know, I'm flattered you have me back.
I don't want to get people's hopes up, but our hope is to have Jerry back live with us in our resource center in High Point in October. More on that to come. But Jerry, you know, it's interesting. We do get these lists of the questions that people give us in advance of these webinars, and you are an 8-pager this time. I will tell you that more than half of that revolves around supply chain and logistics. No surprises there, but do us all a favor and just off the top here, give us the thumbnails, and we'll get into these things more deeply, but what are your areas right now of concern, and what are your areas that you're feeling good about, that you think are the positive building blocks for our industry right now? What would you say those are currently?
Well, I'll start off by saying that this has been a busy week with the media. Wall Street Journal, USA Today, let's see, day before yesterday was NBC News, and today it was Fox News. All did interviews with me, and all these are articles about why furniture is shipping slow right now. And there's a lot of focus, of course, upon the foam situation, which is getting better every day. And I tell them all, I'm not sure why you're just picking up on it now, because it happened months ago, and we're actually doing a lot better now than we were then. So, you know, we're a far ways from being caught up in terms of getting deliveries, in terms of getting schedules back where we want to be, in terms of getting the ports corrected. But one of the Chinese ports has now finally opened and says it feels like it's confident it can get back to normal by the end of this month. I don't believe them, but that's what they put out a press release and said.
Okay.
And we're hearing better things about the port situation. President Biden has decided he wants an investigation of what happened there. So hopefully that will lead to some corrective measures. The problem is with the port situation, there's so many people to point fingers at. You know, the ships can't get in, and then once they get in, they can't get things offloaded. Then they can't find space to put them. Then once they find a place to put them, then they can't get either the trucks or the railroad to come get them. And it's a huge problem. And the truckers, I talked to a trucker last week who told me that his frustration is just huge because he leases all his trucks and he has to turn in 12 or 14% of his trucks next week, and they don't have any new trucks to give him. So he's out, but it's not as bad as it could seem because he doesn't have enough drivers or unloaders anyway. So there's just a shortage of people on every level. It's just beyond comprehension. And even without the flood and the power situation that sidelined 5 of our chemical plants that were making the stuff we need to make in foam, it's the great frustration is we have a consumer that's come back to us starting last May. They're excited about our products. They want our products. And it's been since the early 70s that we've had this level of demand and this level of turnover, if you will, in terms of the products. And we can't meet the demand. One of the public companies, I believe, said that their sales were up 80-some%. But if they've been able to deliver on all the orders they had during the market that they normally could deliver, their sales would have been up 120%. So it's that extreme. And we can only hope that the people are going to be patient enough to wait and receive this product.
Well, let me ask you a question though. You know, what you just described, and you did a brilliant job of showing us why it's called a chain, because it's link after link after link after link after link. You laid out a problem with numerous links here. So yes, more product would be wonderful for everybody on this call and beyond. But you've done a report about the port situation, et cetera. So what's the horizon look like? Are we talking about a supply chain that's going to be sputtering for the next 12 months, 24 months? You know, what is your gut? Because we're even seeing now, back at the beginning of the chain, we're seeing closures in Vietnam now. So it's like we're sort of back to that cycle we were early in 2020. What are your thoughts?
Well, Malaysia has just shut down for another week and warned that they expect to shut down for another week past that. Vietnam this week has announced that they're shutting down certain cities. So we know that's going to hurt us. Going through these things one at a time, I think it won't be until early next year when all of the port systems return to anything like normality. Now, if you look at the container cost, somebody told me Monday that in order to get a certain product, a certain container in, they had to pay $18,000. Now, prior to that, about $14,500 was the highest I'd heard of. And
well, I just heard this week, Jerry, I heard well north of $20,000.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, it's absolute blackmail. But hopefully, once we get these port situations back to some level of normality, and remember, this doesn't include us, it includes the TV industry, the appliance industry, even to a degree the automotive industry. But we have this problem to get over with, and it's bigger than just us. Now, I think that's going to take the end of this year, I think, is being a little ambitious. I think it will roll into next year, and then right after the beginning of the year, then we get to the complications of the Chinese New Year. But let's just say it'll be early next year. I think the employment situation is probably with us until the end of next year, because a lot of these people have no interest in going back to work. They have learned how to live without getting a working paycheck through the different other benefits they've been able to glean here and there. And just when it looked like the support for unemployment, the extra dollars going out to support people with unemployment are running to an end at the end of this month, we have this new Child Support Act that's going to give 90 million young people under the age of 17 somewhere between $250 and $300 each every month. Now, the government, in all its wisdom, says, no, we're just giving you this benefit early rather than making you wait till the end of the year to take it off your taxes. I believed that the first time I heard it, and then I thought, wait a minute, about 35% of these people don't pay taxes. So this is just found money going into their pockets and coming out of, I think I know whose pockets, but it's going into their pockets from our government. And no, this isn't any break that was just being accelerated. This is brand new money. And that's a lot of money. If you remember last year, when we sent out those $1,200 chunks to households, a household with 3 children was getting well over $6,000. And a lot of these people have never seen $6,000 at one time before. And fortunately, and I'm so glad of this, the furniture industry received a lot of recognition. People bought things that they had been putting off, and we were the beneficiaries. Now, it took our factories a while to get going again and everything to work, but we're slowly getting back to where we're going to meet that demand. Now, I have two concerns here. One is, and this is primarily for the factories, a number of the larger retailers have told me that they need an X number of this product, stationary upholstery, to meet this price point, or power motion. And so since they can't get anyone to guarantee them a delivery, they're placing 2, 3, 4 identical orders with different vendors. And whoever gets it to them first, the others are going to be canceled. So here we've got this massive backlog that everybody's counting on and everybody's building towards. And it may be a puff of smoke when the deliveries start catching up. Secondly, it makes me question how long this will really last. Are the consumers going to continue to wait? With some of our people, I got a friend of mine called me. Their entire house is this one manufacturer's, a very high-profile manufacturer's product. They love it. They think it's the greatest. And when they went to order a new sofa, they found out that new sofa and matching chair were going to take them over 9 months to get. And so they called me and said, "What can you do?" And I said, "Absolutely nothing." And I said, and don't blame the retailer. It's not the retailer's fault. For that matter, don't blame the manufacturer. It's the circumstances we live in. But for our industry, I'm in my 50th year now in this business. And for our industry to go through such a long period of time where we had more capacity than we had demand, and now we're at a point where we've got significantly more demand than we have the capacity to deliver. It's just frustrating beyond belief. I just cannot get over how maddening that must be when you look at your store's numbers at the end of a week, and you had so many people come in, and X number walked out just because you couldn't deliver it within a reasonable period of time, and you don't know whether they're coming back or not. All these interviews that I've done with those media here I mentioned earlier are all about what consumers can do. Should they just not even try to buy something until a year from now and come back and then order what they want, get it in normal time? And I've advised them absolutely not. Go ahead and get yourself in the pecking order of getting the product. Because as things accelerate and we get back to normal times, you don't want to go back in and have to put yourself at the bottom of the pile again. So I think that's there are a lot of people still excited. Now, if you look at the numbers, the last month was a huge gain in services and no gain for products. So the consumer's beginning to take trips, take vacations, go out to eat, go out and do the different services. And that's something that they haven't been doing for, as we all know, about a year. So that side of the economy is warming up. So people are having alternatives to spend. But I think Mark, what it comes down to, we have more people every year between the ages of 35 and 54. Every year from now until the year 2034. More people will be going into those age groups every year. Part of it's the baby boomers phasing out, part of it's getting the Generation X out of the way, part of it's the millennials coming in, and then the Generation Y behind them. But we're going to have more people every year looking to buy our products. And look at the housing activity right now. We are thousands of units short of what the people need. And we're going to get those people coming back over and over again. They're shopping for homes. In my own family, both of my children have bought homes this year. Not that I suggested it, they just saw an opportunity and went out and bought homes. And they're getting huge numbers on their old house while they're buying their dream house. It's nice to watch. So we're in a wonderful time in terms of the demand, and it's going to continue. The people
I want to peel back this onion kind of a layer at a time here, because you just got into something I was going to talk about. So, I mean, there's the housing boom alone. You know, people I'm talking to, you know, you're talking about that being something that we can look out over maybe 2 years, just based upon the current situation. So that's a huge, you know, demand piece there, which I think is great for us. But there's two things you said that I want to get to. I want to talk about, you know, and you use the term that I kind of cringe when I hear it whenever somebody says normal. You know, aren't we and really doing business at our own peril if we don't realize that we are in currently a state of disruption, and that's going to continue for the unforeseeable future, no matter what that disruption looks like? I mean, that if we're going to talk about normal, the normal is disruption. I mean, would you agree with that?
Certainly for the next 6 to 9 months. I don't see how I can possibly cure in less time than that. There's just too many things that have to line up, too many groups, too many unions. I'm not anti-union. I'm just saying that the unions have to come to agree contracts. The ports have, a lot of containers have to reappear from wherever they are right now. There's a shortage of containers. We've got some warehouses in Vietnam right now that are chock full of furniture to the degree that that manufacturer can't make anymore because he doesn't have a place to put it. It's such an odd time.
I guess my point is that you've done a great job of describing how just when we think things are sort of starting to flatten out a little bit, there's then another disruption somewhere else. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I love that as a very optimistic, hey, in 9 months, hopefully we're kind of back to some sort of a regular flow. But if I'm a business owner, wouldn't you caution me to make sure that I'm ready for that not to happen? What I mean by that is knowing that all it takes is another little piece of this chain to give way. I mean, we're just seeing this constantly being battered from all aspects.
Yeah, I agree with that. Again, how do we get more people back in the workforce? We're going to do that by giving them a greater incentive to work. Now, if you listen to the Federal Reserve has become politicized because they want a message that interest rates are going to stay low. There isn't anyone on the call within earshot that doesn't know we've got a lot of inflation flowing through on almost every level. You know, food and gas prices and all that. The government says that this is a temporary little spike in inflation, and then this is going to normalize, there's that word again, and we're once again going to go back to very little price escalation. I think that's a wonderful fairy tale, but that's just what it is. You see, those of us who remember the 70s and 80s remember that one set of price increases went through and the consumer suffered and they demanded higher compensation. They got the higher compensation, and just as soon as they got the higher compensation, we got more price increases. We right now have that added element of several states going on and putting in a $15 minimum wage per hour, minimum wage. Washington, D.C.'s put it in. That's wonderful. It sounds wonderful. It causes a lot of jobs to go away for people that are doing, let's just say, services that require less skill. You've got other places that are putting in new wages. Amazon, almost all of your larger tech companies are putting in new incentives, new pay, even new health care and other programs. Bank of America, bless their hearts, has put in a $25 an hour minimum wage. How many people at Bank of America made less than $25 an hour? I don't know. I doubt if it was that many. But they stepped up and said $25 an hour is the minimum they'll pay anybody. Well, everybody else around now is saying, well, wait a minute. If Bank of America is paying $25 an hour, why can't you? And I was taught at a very good university by a very good economist that the only factor that really drives inflation is wages. Wages are what cause inflation, because once they start, there isn't any fulfillment. Whoever got the first start is going to be at the first of the line when it gets up to a certain level, and they're going to want to catch up from that. But the real reason is that they don't come down. You don't see wages come back down. Once they're at this level, you're not going to see us go back to a $9 minimum wage. That's just not going to happen. So this is putting a lot of cost on our system. The Social Security system has just announced that this year, the increase in your all those of us who get Social Security payments who are old, the increase this year is going to be 6%, a touch over 6%. Since I've been on Social Security, which is less than a decade, a big increase for us would be 1.5%. But now they're putting in 6%. Why? Because they're recognizing the cost of living's gone up that much at least. And so that's going to put more inflation in, and it's also going to cause the government to have to react and pay that.
So I'm going to just to capsulize that then is you're basically saying that don't think this inflation is a temporary spike. You're saying that's just, this is not true. So you're suggesting to anybody listening here that that inflation is here. Nobody can doubt that. I think it hit our industry first, but it is here, and you don't see that letting up really anytime soon. Do you have an idea about a percentage you'd like to throw out there that you see?
Well, it depends upon what you're talking about. You know,
okay.
the good, you know, some things have already had their inflation.
Right.
I think that's probably true with oil prices, but there's a lot of the things that are piling on because they can. They've got this advantage and they're taking advantage of it. And that makes me go back to this past May and June. I made a fool of myself by screaming at people, we haven't had this level of demand since 1975. And we haven't had this kind of demand that would allow us to raise prices. Please raise prices. You can't raise prices when nobody wants your product. The time to raise prices is when everybody wants them. And now that they can't get them, you need to put the price in. And I remind people that our consumer doesn't buy our product every day like they do milk or cheese or loaves of bread. They buy our sofas every 7 to 8 years and our bedrooms every 14 years and so forth. They don't remember what they paid last time. All they know in terms of pricing is what they see in the supplements and what they read online. Now, let me just make a frightening point here. The Consumer Price Index for all consumer goods from 1971 to 1979 rose 70% in one decade. Furniture rose 44.8%. That's a huge gain. Don't get me wrong, but we're 30% behind what everybody else put in. 1980 to 89, the Consumer Price Index rose 46.8%. Furniture and mattresses rose 27.8. Again, other products in our marketplace rose their prices 20% more than we did. The 1990s, the Consumer Price Index went up 20.4%. We didn't have that double-digit inflation in the 90s anymore, and the furniture industry rose their prices 7.2%. Again, another 10% below. And then for the aughts, the first decade, 2000 through 09, other industries, the consumer price index raised 20.3, and our industry raised their prices, dropped their prices 19%. That's a 40-point swing. Their prices went up, our prices went down. Now remember, the first decade of this century, we had 3.5 years of recession in a 10-year decade. It was the worst decade we've had in a long time. And remember, in 2007, 8, and 9, we had that perfect storm that the banks were crashing. The housing market absolutely collapsed, and people weren't building homes. People couldn't get their value out of the old homes. Now, I will tell you that I do not have the number for the teens. My wife left it downstairs in her car, and so I don't have it. But I can tell you, I know I've heard the number. And once again, we didn't raise our prices as much as the other industries.
Now, you've been saying this for a long time, that it's time to change that.
Mark, if we had just raised our prices to the same level as the consumer price index, just the average, we'd be doing almost 3 times the dollar volume we're doing right now. And think how much healthier that would make our industry. Right now, our industry at retail, according to the government's $141 billion industry. Now that includes all routes of retail. But think how much healthier we'd be. It's just incredibly frustrating.
No, I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I'm just saying that we have this moral recognition somehow that's beat into us that you have to have certain price points. Now, if you do your homework right now, the best-selling price point, I'm going to use a upholstered sofa. The best-selling price points are $6.99, $9.99, $12.99, $14.99, and $19.99. And then we get into a lot of the more custom stuff. Now, what's magical about those price points? For some reason, they are the magical price points that consumers are comfortable with, and we've really structured our product so that we can sell it to them at those prices. If we're going to stop selling somebody at $6.99, your choices are to give up that price point or to find something significantly cheaper that you can sell for $6.99, a product that is not as well made or whatever. But our almost religious belief that we can't sell furniture unless it's those key price points it just blows my mind. The auto industry back in the early 70s had a price point of $3,000. They didn't think you could sell a popular car above $3,000. Well, today, those same equivalent vehicles are selling in the 20,000 range. Somehow they got over that reluctance to move from those price points. We didn't.
Let me ask you this question, because a minute ago you said something very interesting about, and this is a concern a lot of people have, the fact that now that Americans are getting out more, they're spending in different areas. So a really great question is that came in is, do you have any idea at the moment about what share of a consumer disposable income now is going toward furniture compared perhaps to last year? Do we have any indication as to what piece of the pie our industry is getting at the moment?
Right now, we're getting about 1.6% of the consumer's discretionary spending. The highest it's been since I've been around was right at 2%. Okay. And it's gone down to 1.6. Now, if you look at other industries, they may have a higher percent of discretionary. But again, what's holding us back are prices. You know, everything's measured in dollars. So if we're not raising our prices as much as the auto industry and other industries, we're always going to be losing share of market. We cannot overcome that. And with the products that we're selling today, and your people know this better than I do, but we have better finishes, we've got safer products, we've got less flammability, we've got better leathers. Our fabrics today are phenomenal. The outdoor fabric, they're so good you can use them indoors, are absolutely state-of-the-art, space-age innovation. And we've got all that to sell to the consumer. Now, the consumer, again, great frustration. The consumer isn't, again, it drives me crazy. The consumer will buy something on the internet or buy a mattress on the internet, and they'll read about how those people have created something new, something creative, something that's a new color. And after listening to that, you'll buy one. To me, that's the equivalent of walking into a furniture store or a mattress shop, closing your eyes and say, give me that one, because that's what you're doing. You don't have a clue what's coming. Yeah, there's a novelty of opening up a box and you get a mattress that magically appears, but after that happens, the magic kind of goes away. And if you look at the pricing of these products, the pricing of these bed and boxes and internet mattresses have gone up and up and up. And they now, generally speaking, are more expensive than mattresses they can buy in a furniture store or in a bedding specialty shop. And again, if there was a price benefit, I'd see it maybe. If there was a huge logistical benefit, I could see it. But the logistical benefit goes away the minute you open the box and allow the mattress to grow back to normal size. You can't reverse that process and put it back in the box. So you lose all that logistical benefit right there.
Well, for those of you that have just joined us, this is Jerry Epperson, and we like to have a chance to sit with Jerry every so often and really talk about the state of the industry. And we've hit a lot of areas already. And I hasten to say that this is very much a report that you're giving today that has an asterisk at the end of every sentence. We talk about increased demand, and then we talk about the fact that we still can't meet it. We talk about the supply chain, hopefully, getting back a little more smoothly moving within the next 9 months, and yet we just know another shoe is gonna drop here. And you basically said you think inflation is real and it's here, and it's not something that's going to just go away and be a temporary spike. Gosh, there's just so much to sort of unwrap here, Jerry. But I want to put one more little moment on this pricing before we get past that, because you've been preaching that as long as I've known you. You've been preaching about the fact that retailers are underselling their merchandise at prices. Right now they're getting hammered with these container prices, as we know. So they're already shouldering more costs. Does that make this, I don't want to say it's an excuse. Is this the best time to do this when the consumer at least has a reasonable understanding of the fact that it's hard to get this stuff, and I'll pay more if I can get it? I mean, I'm not suggesting we're using this pandemic in this way, but is this in fact, to your point, the time to just do this, to rip the Band-Aid off when it comes to prices on the things that folks are selling?
Mark, again, I'm repeating myself, but if people buy our products so seldom that they really don't remember perhaps what they paid last time. And if you look back at the history of that, I use the example of a young lady gets out of college and gets her first apartment, and she goes out and buys a $4.99 sofa, and she doesn't care what the color matches it, because she's not going to be in that apartment very long. And so then she goes a little bit further, and at some point she moves into a home, maybe with a husband, maybe not. And when she does that, she probably is more likely to care about the color combinations that are used. And that original sofa, which is pretty worn by now, is going to be relegated to a family room or garage or basement. And then you get into the home that you're going to live in for a long time. And I remember my wife and I moved into our home in 1985. And I'll tell you very honestly that, you know, we never thought we'd own a home that nice. We were so blessed and blown away. It was bigger, it was nicer. It had a living room and a solarium that overlooked the pool and the golf course. And we, in our wiseness, never let people in. All our friends came in through the garage or through the family room. We didn't have any living room friends. We're not Catholic, but if the Pope came, we'd probably let him see the living room. Well, our living room was perfect. Our living room, the furniture in there when we left after 31 years was as perfect as the day we put it in because no one ever used it.
Right.
That was not a good use of money. You know, we ought to put the money where we use the furniture, but we had a damn nice room if anybody came into town that we wanted to impress.
And I mean, this is a question that came in. I think you just led into it beautifully here. You know, we know how things have changed in certain categories. Certainly, home offices, you know, had a boost because of the work at home environment. What are you seeing? What can you help our members here and listeners as far as what categories you see right now and moving forward you see being the strongest? Where do you see the strengths and weaknesses right now going forward from a category standpoint?
The strength continues to be in those categories where they're actively improving the products. And that would obviously be power motion in all the different variants and all the gizmos, USB ports and headrests that move electrically, massage, lumbar supports, all these things. When the consumer sees them, they want them. Similar to our massage chairs, our medically correct massage chairs. They really should be shown in the bedding department, not in with recliners, because they are that way. They're more expensive. In fact, a lot of your massage chairs are just a hair short of ugly when you get right down to it. But those massage chairs serve a function that once you're in them, you wouldn't give them away for anything. But those chairs supply such a need, and if you've got that need, you don't mind paying $5,000, $7,000, $9,000 for that item. And they are worth it for that. They save you going to your medical places. It saves you lots of other issues. We've got them in both of our homes. The other things that are undergoing improvement, the mattress industry. I want you to think about this for a minute. The mattress industry is all selling identically sized rectangles. They're either twin size rectangles or they're queen size rectangles or full size or king size or California king, but they're all selling rectangles. And no consumer really knows what's inside that rectangle. Okay, they can't open it up and look inside. They can read that it's got 688 springs. They don't know what that means. And you can talk about it's got purple foam that's infused with pink gel. You can read all that stuff. The consumer doesn't know what that means, but they'll listen and they can be sold. That's the way the mattress industry has developed. If they didn't create new and different, exciting reasons to buy these mattresses, the mattress industry would be selling mattresses that wouldn't be turned over but 20 years. Right now, they're turning over about 8 years on average. They've done a marvelous job marketing and going to the consumer and saying, look, one of your major concerns, one of your major health concerns is sleeping and your health, and here's how we can help with that. That's wonderful. We should do more of that with all of our seating products. We should do more of that with our motion, all the way down to using ergonomics, the office furniture does, to talk about how you have to have different needs to support different people. You and I are quite a bit different in our size, and I suspect I need different chairs and different seating than you do, and a different bed than you do. So, don't be afraid to talk to people about those issues. I'm a very large person, and if I go into a store and they take me over to show me something that's labeled bariatric, I take no offense at that. I know I'm fat. So don't think you're going to hurt my feelings by telling me something. We need to start addressing those different physical issues. And that's where some innovation is going to come in. We're about to see some new materials come about that are going to be used to substitute for wood. And they're going to probably in the beginning look like wood because America has that affection with lumber and timber and all that. But we're going to eventually get to the role like Europe, where they're going to have different colored finishes and different paints and so forth, because not everybody cares about something being in wood. And with today's sustainability issues, using wood means you've got to document where it came from and that it wasn't misused or taken from a forest that was protected and all that stuff. It's going to be a lot of excitement in new products, and we see it. We see a lot of this stuff before it comes out, and it's exciting when it gets here, and how long this is going to last, and the comfort, and it's not flammable, and it's reusable, and all these different issues are getting better and better because the consumer demands it.
But again, just to thank you for that. So you're saying though that right now the categories you feel are the strongest right at the moment are power motion and massage chair, mattress, those sorts of things, which is interesting because it's when you start talking about upholstery and a lot of the other categories that have really been hammered hard by the supply chain, et cetera, it makes me think about the fact of sourcing. Do you feel that there's any changes coming? I mean, this is not something that any manufacturer can do quickly, but do you see any changes coming with where things are going to be manufactured? I mean, we know that a lot of domestic manufacturing has been held up by parts and pieces they've not been able to get, but do you see any of that legitimately changing? Because that's always the thing you hear from people saying, well, we just need to have, be more domestic, or at least more here in North America. Is that any of that in process or happening, or do you think that's going to be something in the future?
Certainly in the mattress industry, we already have M. Lilly and another company from Eastern Europe that are building very modern plants. They've already built, or they are building in South Carolina. They're going to build also on the West Coast, and they're coming after this market in the U.S. because we've had these anti-dumping petitions that have priced China and many of the Asian countries and a couple of the Eastern European countries out of the market. So if they're going to be competitive here, they have to use that technology and that volume with facilities located here in the U.S. or at the very least in North America. We're going to see more and more ready to assemble product come in because there are so many savings relative to its logistics getting it here, then the ability to get it to the consumer without nearly the expense. If you were to talk to Amazon or most of the e-commerce furniture retailers, they're going to tell you that they despise fully set up furniture. It has to be delivered when the consumer's there. It has to be put in the house. It's all these things we know in the furniture industry. Oh, our furniture stores know this. But on the outside, people look at that and think, this is just too much of a bother. And that's why you see Amazon and Wayfair and those guys doing most of their business in products that are RTA or better packed, like a bed in a box. Those, the fully set up furniture that we sell in furniture stores is not the biggest sellers for these people. And a lot of us need to keep that in mind. Do they sell it? Sure they do. But they take a loss on most of it because they can't make money delivering one sofa to one house in Butte, Montana. It just is difficult for them to do. So we believe that there's going to be a continued need for furniture stores in each community. One, they know the community like nobody else does. Two, most of them have a commitment to their market that these bigger guys don't. Three, most of them have family that are there. And I think that's extremely important to keep going. If you look at our best run retailers, there's family every step of the way. And I think that's going to continue. I get very excited when I think about those kind of things. Now, do the statistics show it recently? No. Last year was a terrible year for furniture stores relative to e-commerce. Last year saved several e-commerce retailers that had a life expectancy of 12 to 18 months, but the pandemic gave them the injection. Several showed profits for the first time in their history because of the pandemic. So is that going to continue once the pandemic's over? I don't know. Again, I don't look at them as being the worst competition we're going to have. And I also might as well put it out there right now. I don't believe the internet's going to be the end all and be all of retailing. I personally believe that what's going to happen is every consumer, every adult consumer will have their own website. And you will put on that website what you are looking for, what your need is. And it's going to be up to the different retailers to post on your site what their solution is to your need, how they can fix it, when they can fix it, what it's going to cost to fix. If you need a new sofa, here's how we can get it done, and here's our price on it, and we can have it there a week from Thursday. Why should Americans, why should anybody in the world spend their time shopping over and over and over again when it should be the retailers? The retailers want our money. The retailers should be servicing us, not us servicing them.
You know, I know that in past conversations we've had that there's been a little bit of concern that your love of where we are, you know, where we've come from, in the brick and mortar, et cetera, makes it sound like we can go back to normal. But I know so define that a little bit more. So to be from all the data you've seen and what you've been looking at and studying, so what should a brick and mortar retailer be doing right now to balance out this digital piece, because we know that people are coming to us, you know, through that. So what does that truly look like? It's not like it was, you know, with just door swings, let's just say 10 years ago. So what is it right now in 2021 that retailers listening to this should be doing, and how should they be approaching this new customer journey that everybody is having to deal with?
You have to have a presence on all the different channels. You have to have a presence. If you do not have a website, you do not promote your website, it's the same as if you had a furniture store with no signs outside, nothing identifying. You need to look at your signage and your promotions and make sure they're current and that people can relate to them. I take great fun with friends of mine when I walk through their stores and I point out that their sale today has been there in place for more than 2 years. Today only sales. These days you ought to have a sign that says, if we've got it, you can have it, because every store has got something. They may not have everything they want. They're frustrating that they can't get what have traditionally been bestsellers, but now they can sell what they're getting. There aren't many stores out there that just have no upholstery, that don't have any bedroom, don't have any cribs or children's furniture. We're about to go into a children's boom. And a lot of that has to do with the age of the people and the millennials, bless their hearts. There was a whole decade, last decade, where the millennials were saying, we're not going to move to the suburbs. We want to stay here. We like being able to walk across the street to a restaurant or go to the corner and shop for groceries. And we've got all this social interaction. Well, one, the pandemic put the kibosh on that. And number two, what really did it was when they started having children. And when you start having children, you move to the suburbs because that's where they have a safe area to play and be entertained, where they have parks, where they've got better schools. And that's what's making this mass migration right now for the millennials. They're having kids. And as they have more and more kids, that's going to up the ante in the suburbs and in the country areas. Richmond, Virginia is 90 miles from Washington, D.C. Fortunately, the wind blows away from Richmond most of the time, but every once in a while, we sense Washington's presence. But the phenomenon in the last year is how many people are getting out of Philadelphia, New York, Boston, Washington, and are coming into Virginia and North Carolina looking for land, looking for an escape. The property values down where my little house is on the Rappahannock River, the property prices down there are going crazy. And I'm probably going to participate in letting somebody go crazy. It's ridiculous what they're willing to pay. Why? It isn't because the property got better all of a sudden. They just want to get the dickens away from living where there's all that crime, where all those robberies, all that violence, and they want some peace and quiet and safety. And that's what I'd like to say we have around here, but at least the state of Virginia has it around.
And Jerry, when they do that, then they need furniture. I mean, this is you're talking again about a scenario, this migration that's going on right now, that is an opportunity for our industry. It truly is.
Well, I had a learning experience in 2016 when Kathy and I left our house of 31 years and moved to our condo from where I'm speaking to you right now. We're 100 feet up in the air. We were moving from a big house to a little condo. So I thought we may have to buy a piece of furniture or two. I was wrong. I was wrong on almost everything. I can probably point out 8 items in our condo that used to be in our house. Everything else is new because it didn't fit here.
There you go.
And so it doesn't make any difference. If you change residence to residence, you're going to have to buy a significant amount of furniture. Not the first year necessarily, but certainly in the first 2 years, 3 years, when you want to start really showing off and entertaining in your home.
So for the folks that have been with us, and for those that might be just jumping in, I want to give some of the takeaways. We're going to, of course, be sharing this with you with follow-ups. All of you that have joined us today are going to get a follow-up with those great points that have been made. But also, we're going to be sending you Jerry's mid-year report, which will give you data to back up the things he's talking about. So you'll get a chance to see that. That will be sending to you as well. But I just want to highlight some things here just to make sure we didn't miss anything. But you have said through this that you are, of course, we're talking about supply chain, and you're saying hopefully within 6 to 9 months we'll at least have some of the ports will be back to normal, and then we can hopefully see a little bit of a better flow. But we know that there can be obviously disruptions that they'll continue there. The housing boom, this migration we're talking about, you're in agreement that we're talking about probably at least a good couple of more years, 24 months plus of that being a great driver of demand for our industry, which is wonderful. You're not feeling great about the inflation that's happening right now. You think that it's a fairy tale, that it's temporary because of higher wages, and so that's something for everybody to be mindful of. Really kind of the two things that was interesting, you talked about discretionary spending and saying the consumer right now is spending about 1.6% of their discretionary spending on the home furnishing sector. It's never been higher than 2%. You mentioned that's measured in dollars, but you've not seen a lot of spike or movement there, which is interesting. And I think that for me, one of the biggest takeaways, and for a lot of people, is the fact that you're saying now is the time to go ahead and feel good about raising your prices. I got this, by the way, this is a comment from one of the people on this webinar that said, when we had a webinar with Jerry last year, you and I spoke, and you suggested raising prices, they put that into action immediately and raised them before the factories raised the costs. And it says it was a huge benefit for us. So there is at least a testimonial for you there. Before we wrap up, and we've got just a couple of more minutes, I love some of the questions that are just so emphatic and short and simple. And one person just said, when will it end? I guess we can figure out what the it is, but give me just, and this is all crystal ball stuff, but give us where's this industry, what does this industry look like, and where are we in 5 years?
One of the things I love about the retailers I know in this industry is we have a fair number of curmudgeons, and we have a fair number that won't admit it when it's a pretty day. Well, it could be better. Back in May of last year, I got a phone call from one of my absolute favorite curmudgeons. We've known each other decades, and I've never heard him be excited. I've never heard him feel like business was good. Okay is about as high praise as he ever gave. But he started talking about business is good. We can't believe it. Everybody that's coming in is buying. And that's a completely different scenario than we've had for decades. And he says people are walking out of here with everything they can pick up. And his business has continued like that. And his business had a record fiscal year, and they're opening stores and hiring people. And this time, with people buying our product, when people seeking us out, is when you raise your prices. And it's also where you let your presence be known. Somebody came out with this idea, I don't want to advertise because people will come in here and be disappointed that I can't supply them exactly what they want. Well, getting them in there is a big part of that. And if you don't advertise, if you think you're better off sitting at home with your hands tucked under your bottom, you're not going to get the people in when business turns around. And people forget why you advertise. You advertise for a lot of reasons. You advertise, one, to bring people in and show them what you've got. Don't show the same thing every week. Put different things in. Put different things in that you don't normally put in there. Gun cabinets, different types of storage, garage storage. All you got to put things in there that are different so that if you don't advertise you've got it, they're not going to know you have it. You need to make sure everybody knows where you are. There's nothing more stupid than running an ad and not showing where you're located. Tell them where you're located. And by the way, where you're located, where your stores are, outside should be pristine. And the parking lot should be clean, and the windows should be clean. If a lot of people come by and pull in your parking lot, that grass growing up among the rocks is not decorative. And if there are cracks in the asphalt with grass growing good, that's not decorative. If they come by and look at your store, they say, that's not a place I want to deal with. Look at the successful people we have out there in the marketplace, the people we've dealt with over the years. They have stores that make you want to go in and put things in the windows that people want to see and change the display. You don't have to buy something new, but you can't have the exact same thing on the floor week after week in the same order. If a person walks in your store and sees the same thing twice, they're going to figure it's going to be the same thing if they come back again, and they won't come back.
We just had that we just had that with store designers that suggested that very same thing. And also, when you talked about diversity, we know of retailers that have begun to sell all sorts of items, even more involving with kitchen cabinetry. I mean, looking at the home fully and not just for the typical furniture categories we're talking about. So there's a lot of creativity that people can certainly show out there. So it sounds like you're just saying continue to evolve. Huh?
There are whole communities of extremely wealthy African Americans, Hispanics. The gay community is actually a little more wealthy than the heterosexual community if you look at the statistics. We should be aggressively going after all of these categories. And don't forget children. We're going to see a rebound in the number of children born in the next roughly 20 years.
Well, I want to first of all, thank you very much. And before we sign off, we have something interesting. There are a number of our HFA members are signed up with our Synchrony program. And what Synchrony has done is they have started this program called Synchrony Ignite, which is really a chance for those that are members to earn points for added benefits, et cetera. And if you listen to this program today, you're going to get 2,500 points. Jerry, who knew we could pay people to listen to you and me talk? That's incredible. But you're going to see there's a code here on the screen, the HFA 2188. But if you want to register today, bottom line there, it says go.myhfa.org/ignite webinar, and you'll learn more about it. Just one of the many ways we're just trying to provide more benefits and more value to our members. Jerry, thank you. That's one of the quickest hours I think I've ever been a part of. We appreciate it. Once again, everybody, we're going to be sending you out a kind of a primer that's going to hit the high points, what we talked about, and also Jerry's mid-year report that'll really give you an idea about the data behind what he's been talking about. I'll give you 10 seconds for any last thing you want to say.
I just want to remind people that what we're selling is one of the most important things they buy in their entire lives. A human being can't live without something to sit on, eat on, and sleep on. And we do all that, and we do it better than anyone ever has in the history of our nation or the history of our world. We've got products out there that are phenomenal values. And what's lacking in our business continues to be self-esteem. We continue to feel like if someone comes into our store, they're doing us a favor. It's not that. We're doing them a favor because we're giving them a product. And remember, when you go to market, you're not buying what you want for your house. You're buying what you think your community wants. And so you're taking their taste out and buying the best that's out there for them. I think we should be really proud of what we do and the services we provide. And remember that. Don't ever think that, people are doing us a favor for showing up. But having said that, you've done me a huge favor by showing up today. And thank you. As I told Mark earlier, the compliment isn't being invited, the compliment is being invited back. So thank you so much. And thank the HFA for all they do for the industry.
Well, we appreciate that very much. And by the way, there was also a comment made about the fact that you and I coordinated shirts today. That's not true. It just worked out that way. Jerry Epperson, it's good to hear you. Thanks for the data. Thanks for the insights. Thanks for a little bit of cheerleading too. People need to hear that as well. But I want to thank you so much. And for all of you out there, please, we hope you have good health and good sales. I'm Mark Schumacher on behalf of the entire HFA team. Have a great rest of your day.